provide flexibility in the way you provide it. For example, I played around with, even when you're talking about commercials, there are many levers you can play with. So it's not just one number, right? It's how you get paid. What is the frequency? Is it every session? Is it every 4 sessions? Is it a package? You can play around with all of these.
Today is our Business of Coaching / Being a Coach series, which is always good fun, always unpredictable, and we always learn something. And today, I think we'll learn more than usual because Shyam has done a phenomenal job in this whole become a professional coach thing. So much so that we've literally asked him to be, oh, hi, Charlie. We've literally asked him to be a speaker in some of our cohorts so he can share the magic of his approach, which you'll soon see. It's not magic, it's common sense and putting yourself out there and gaining confidence and just doing stuff versus waiting for stuff to happen. So today is all about Shyam's story and him sharing the successes as well as some failures so that along the way we can all learn. And the reason I wanted Tracy to come on here is because there's a lot of things that Shyam will talk about that may be slightly different in another country. And Tracy's based in Canada and her customers are in the Americas, as well as in India. But I just think it'd be cool to have some culture as they come up. So Tracy, you look wonderful and beautiful and tan. It's okay if you're not wearing makeup. I'm wearing a tiny bit of eyeliner so you can see that I have eyeballs, but that's it. And let's just have a bit of a fun discussion. But the high level plan is that Shyam will be here and then for the next 2 webinars. So today will be kind of the story of how he launched his coaching business and how he got his first and second and I think 50th customer, like all since October, during COVID, where everything was crazy. And like October, that's not even a year. It's freaking insane. So Shyam knows what he's doing much better than I do. I am here for my usual asking of silly questions that others don't feel like asking, which is fine. But the next time we will focus, I believe, on your finding your niche, getting into your niche, and we'll talk about pricing. Like we'll talk about all this stuff that all you lovely people ask me. And a lot of times I go, I don't know, because I don't know, because I don't have an individual solopreneur coaching business. I'm at Coach Arya for a reason. I'm not great when it comes to the whole being quiet and listening and being someone's mirror thing. I'm better at the help others be their mirror thing. But Tracy is a bit of both as well, because she does, she does training and she does meditation and she does coaching. So I think we'll have a nice little discussion over this next hour. Shyam, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you are, and maybe start with kind of your journey of how you got there and became the super solopreneur that you are today.
Thank you so much for that introduction. That's amazing. Well, I'm really glad to be here. I'm surprised to be here, but very happy to be here. And I'm really, really glad, Tracy, you came on, because I'd like to start by saying Tracy is one of the instructors whose foundational class I learned a lot of my formal coaching from. So first of all, thank you. I'm Shyam Sadasivan. I'm calling you from Bangalore and in my study. And I am a coach, trainer, educator, and a bit of a corporate actor too recently. And I'll maybe touch upon that later if anyone's interested. I do acting and coaching together. How did I fall into coaching? I did actually fall into coaching. What's that?
Oh. I was acting.
Oh, I was okay.
I was a mime.
Okay, I understand. I'm
gonna.
Yes, I can see Tracy too doing that. So hey, you've disappeared now. That's the disappearing act by Magda. Thank you. So I kind of fell into coaching, and I didn't really imagine I'd be doing coaching until about September last year, when well, little way back. So last April in 2020, I quit my corporate job of nearly 20 years and decided to go solo. And I wanted to train, I wanted to teach, and I had some other plans, but COVID put the brakes on pretty much everything. And then I said, hey, I'll experiment a few things. I did a podcast that kind of is the story behind this mic, which is the only mic I use today. And then I was, doing a few things, and somebody kind of reached out to me in August and said, hey, there's this project we're doing. We need a bunch of career coaches to kind of help people figure things out in their work, in their career. And I'm like, I'm not really a coach. And he said, hey, give it a shot. It's about just helping people struggling through their careers. And you have 20 years experience, you have a good profile, etc., etc. And I'm like, sure, let's give it a shot. And that's how it began. So it was serendipity to a certain extent. And just to call them out, it's Sandeep Kochar and Vishwapriya Kochar of Blue Minds. They run a fantastic shop out of Gurgaon. If you need any coaching training, they do a lot of work, and they do.
Hey, now we do coaching training.
You do coaching training too. Yes.
True. Shyam, do we need to end this webinar early?
No,
because
so
you're like an alum of Coacharya, I thought.
Yeah, I am an alum. And
wow.
Yes, I am an alum. Coacharya has changed my life in ways with my training and formal education. But I also fell into coaching through other contacts. And I realized I really liked it. And I started realizing that I wanted to spend more time on it. So I kind of fell into it. That was the story. Apologies, Magda, but I kind of fell into it. That was the story there. Anyway, so at some point I realized that I wanted to do it. And then I decided to put myself out there, started a website, started a practice, and then kind of accepted that that is what I wanted to do. And I also realized that I wanted to get formal training. And because I had kind of fallen into it. And that's when I joined Coacharya's foundational batch with Devan and Tracy. And then I'm now in the advanced batch with Ujjwal, and I'm really enjoying it. So long story short is Coacharya is awesome. And I am currently a student, an alum of the foundational program, and a student of the advanced batch. But my story is that I do practice coaching while I'm studying and learning as well. So I'll pause there, and yeah.
Shyam, I'm sorry for threw you off, but I have to, as this webinar is all about branding yourself and growing your business, I have to stick up for,
You're right.
my peeps, which I thought you were one of them. And, I don't know, Shyam, I don't know. We have to chat about this. Just teasing. So cool. You fell into coaching, and then you fell into professional coaching.
That's right.
Do you want to, when you showed me your slides before this, I thought, when you showed the little one that has your journey into your business, can we put it on the screen? Because that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and you shall see it in a second right there. Can you see it?
I can. And people who maybe aren't here all the time, I'm friendly teasing. I promise I'm not a mean old curmudgeon. It's just who I am as a human. I love all of you, and thank you for being here and supporting Coacharya, for the record, because this meeting is being recorded.
Right.
Yeah, so this looks pretty phenomenal, like November 2020, and today we are in August 2021. Talk us through what the heck happened here.
Sure.
Holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that kind of fell into coaching, and then I actually got my first direct coaching work. So November 2020, I signed my first direct client, not through anybody, someone who came to me. And it's actually, it was a friend of a friend who was looking for some help, right? Now, they wanted to kind of get some support in figuring things out at work. And I realized that I wanted to help people in career because that's what I knew what to do. So I was not saying I was into life coaching. I was helping people through work related issues because I was, ex HR, and I had led a team before. So I kind of knew what I was talking about. And when that happened, literally after that happened, I said, hey, this is real. I need to learn this stuff. I need to kind of do this properly. And then I joined, when I say D&T, it's Revan and Tracy in the Kocharya Foundation program in December. Yeah, that's her. And then actually within just a few weeks, I said, this is real and I'm going to do it. So I got that confidence. And I said, January, I launched my website. And that is probably the biggest kind of flip in what happened, right? That launching business, what I mean by launching the business is I went out there and put myself out there. That's what I mean by a launch. There was no big party. There was no, big dinner or anything. It was just a launch of the website going out there and me committing to writing on LinkedIn every day, saying, where am I going to find my business? I said, I'm going to start writing on LinkedIn. January 4th is when I launched it, and I have not stopped. I have written every day on LinkedIn since then. What happens, I realized, at least what happened to me through that 3 months, was the more and more I put myself out there, I realized that when you talk about something for 90 days, people kind of see it and they feel, they understand, they know that you know what you're talking about. You talk about something 100, you say 100 things about something, people kind of realize that you know what you're talking about. And I started attracting attention. I started attracting people. I signed up my first 25 clients, and the first 25 had a good mix of some people who had been with me in some form, worked with me or known me in the past, a lot of new people. I would say kind of 50% people who actually kind of known me or seen me before, and 50% who were complete strangers. And when a stranger came to me and asked me to coach, that was a massive flip in just my confidence level and how I felt, and it was just amazing. And then in April, something happened that really helped me scale. Again, what happened was I coach students of a kind of an alternate MBA school, again, career coaching. And there I got a big chunk of work. I got 100 sessions. I got 25 clients with 4 sessions each, funded by the MBA school. So, and today I have cumulatively worked with 40 plus direct clients. And I have various corporate partners through whom I get exec coaching work and career coaching work.
That's amazing. I do want you to jump into the how, because the things you've done are very much common sense. But before you do that, I did want to ask Tracy to hop on for a second. Tracy, so looking at this timeline, so December is when Shyam joined your program. And by March, he signed his first 100 clients. Do you explain to me, in the process of doing coach training, at what point are people, you think, ready to take clients on, both in terms of the skills and then in terms of like the self-confidence? Is there any pattern that you see or encourage, I should say?
We encourage them to start taking clients on right away. So even if that's just in peer coaching each other, we encourage our trainees to consider all clients as clients. So whether or not that's peer coaches from your cohort or friends and family, that type of thing. But that is something that is going to really help with confidence. And it's really going to help, I think, and Shyam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the belief that you're a coach, the more clients that you start coaching with. And as I look at this slide, I'm thinking I need to book some coaching sessions with you, Shyam, because this is absolutely incredible in terms of what you've achieved in such a short period of time. But it shows that it can be done. It shows that it can be done.
Yeah, I remember, I think talking to you, Tracy, also in the class, that the very first step is about accepting that you are ready to actually go and create a business and go out there and actually coach professionally. I think that's a big kind of mental jump that happened for me. It was just helped by the fact that I had one client, and I cannot emphasize, enough how important it is to get that first client. That is so important, to get the first paid client, whoever it is. And it doesn't matter, what the contract is and what the numbers are, but just getting that very first client is such a massive kind of initiative that you get to kick things off. Yes, Neha, I can see your chat window. You're absolutely right. It was a massive confidence boost. In fact, I'm happy to share that story as well, because just sharing the details of getting that first client was a friend of a friend, and she reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to can you help figure this thing out at work. I'm not growing. I need to figure out a way to actually develop my career over time. We had a couple of conversations. Things felt good. I had no website. I had no brochure. I had no kind of real program really. But I gave it a name and I said, let's do a few sessions together. Came up with a rough plan of it'll take about 2 to 3 months to do this. Why don't we do like a monthly program, meet once a week and get started? And then I was like, how do I, what do I price this at? And I took a, I took a view from the market of what these things were going at. I went with a number, I went with it confidently, and then gave a high discounted rate for my first client. So we'll talk about more pricing, I'm sure. But one thing if I like to start by saying for how to get a first client was I positioned myself as a premium offering and then offered a large discount with the authentic, honest position that you're one of my first clients. In fact, the first client. And so that went down quite well.
Sorry that I jumped off. My Zoom decided to crash and restart. So just in case that happens again, because it's the first Wednesday of the month, do you want to jump into your slides a little bit and start screen sharing, because there's some good stuff on there, and maybe go through the things that worked for you? Awesome.
Yeah.
And apologize if I repeated myself or
not
yourself,
at all.
because I wasn't here.
I was just walking through the first client journey, and I'm actually very happy to share that in detail. So this is the actual email which kind of landed
Great.
that. On the right is the actual email, and it has the actual details of what actually happened. I positioned it as a premium offering. I offered transformation. It was not an incremental shift. I offered flexibility in the way it works and the way the pricing is structured. It's not cheap, but I'll offer a discount. And that's how I structured it. So I never, ever positioned my coaching as a low cost kind of option. It was always on par with what the industry rates are, right? 0 to 1, massive, massive deal. And I'm really, really glad I found my first client. In the actual email on the right, you can see that I talked about it as a transformational coaching program, which it was. I just didn't have a brochure or a system or a website. I had it in my, it was in the works. And I offered it at a 75% discount, which I highly recommend if you want to land a first client. That's not a bad discount to offer to the first client. I was very happy because, to be honest, I didn't care what I was making. I just wanted to get started. And I wanted that validation from the world that somebody would actually pay me for what I do. So I was just elated.
Nice. And something that I'll mention. So in other webinars that we've done in this series, my big thing is that, yes, you do need a website or something where people can find you.
Yes.
And I just want to make it very clear that we're not saying you don't need that to get your first client. It's just that's not the first thing you may necessarily need. So Shyam, I don't know if it's the next one or not, but you had this awesome slide where you talk about how people find you. So let's make sure that we cover that, because it's brilliant. And Tracy,
absolutely.
you want to say something? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. I ended up putting it in the chat. I wanted to say that I really appreciate as well, Shyam, that you really marketed yourself very strongly, especially by quoting a market rate and then discounting it. But also you mentioned that you were very authentic with that client, that they were your first client.
That is correct.
And I just think that that's really important as well. And I wanted to appreciate you for that, because I think that sometimes we feel like we need to present ourselves as being a little more experienced than we are. And that can come in the way of our own confidence when we're doing that. Whereas when we're transparent, then I think authenticity counts for a lot. So thank you for sharing that.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. It definitely does. And actually, Magda, you're absolutely right. Having a website, I mean, it's really important to be able to pull customers. It just happened that I guess I was just lucky to get a first client, get that kind of initial fillip, and then feel like I need to get out there. And that's what I did. Because for me, getting that website up and putting myself out there was a massive, massive fear. In reflection, it feels, why was I holding back for so long? But it was a massive fear for me. I don't like to be in front of a camera. I don't like to get my picture taken. And there's only about 5 pictures of mine that I'm happy to see on screen. This is one of them. A very lucky click. And it was a very, very big fear of mine, but I knew I had to do it, right? And not just the website, Magda, as you had pointed out earlier, it was also about being present in multiple places and being seen consistently with a consistent message. So everywhere you go, it's about, similar look and feel, similar message. What do you really do? Figuring out a nice little, simple way of communicating what you offer to the world. So for me, it was, I help mid-career professionals to create magic at work. It was basically about work, career stuff, mid-career professionals kind of being very clear. And also finding various different partner places where you can be seen. Yeah.
You put yourself out there, and there's two things I want to say. We all have different fears, and what's really cool as coaches, we know how coaching works. We can coach ourselves through those fears. So first of all, I encourage you to treat yourself like a client, to get over the fears that you have, but also acknowledge that the fears are different. So for Shyam, he said, the photos and putting himself out there this way was a challenge. For me, I hate writing about myself. And I know that Tracy also has the same issue, because it took her like 2 years to write her own bio. Yeah.
A year.
It took me, I think, even longer than that. And a year, there you go. Sorry. So 2 years is probably me. Probably, for sure it is me. And the bio on the Coacharia website still is crap, is a nice way of putting it. Mine, not yours. Because every time I sit down, I just diminish every accomplishment I have. And I think about, why would somebody want to read this? And the only way that I'm able to ever get through it is to think, this is for the greater good of Coacharia and for building the company, not for myself. So whatever works for you, do it. But just know that we all have these fears. So yeah, that's one thing I want to say. And the second thing I want to say, someone asked about discounts versus low cost. Yeah. That it's an age-old battle. I don't know if it is an age-old battle, because you have, I think it's hard to increase prices. Just always remember that. It's always easier to take things down. It's much harder to build them up. So if you start with low cost, you are the one who is sticking that anchor out in the market. Nobody's forcing you to do. Right. If you start off and brand yourself as a pro bono coach, you're gonna be a pro bono coach, and it's gonna be much harder for you to go up than it would be to say to yourself, this is the market rate where I want to be. And it's okay if you go down from that via discounts, etc. But just like Shyam was, be authentic and transparent with people. And at least that way, you're not adding yourself additional hurdles to overcome later. That's my view. Shyam, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's, as they say in negotiation, whoever reveals the number first is probably going to lose. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't reveal your prices, but it's about going up is really, really hard. So you can position yourself at a certain kind of price point or rate or fee, or commercially place yourself in a certain point, but talk about the value you're providing, and then give people the option to understand what value it brings them. Provide flexibility in the way you provide it. For example, I played around with, even when you're talking about commercials, there are many levers you can play with. So it's not just one number, right? It's about how you get paid. What is the frequency? Is it every session? Is it every 4 sessions? Is it a package? You can play around with all of these. So the sweet spot that I have found over time is that clients work with me for 2 to 3 or more months, depends. But then we start with a monthly contract with 4 sessions. And then after that, it turns into like a repeated, 2 sessions at a time, 4 sessions at a time, depends on what the client needs. But if you, for me, the sweet spot has been almost like a monthly subscription with a session a week is something that people are willing to kind of commit to. And it's only fair, right? Because they are also, it's a leap of faith to work with a coach and pay money for the first time, especially for people who have never had a coach before. It's a massive leap of faith.
I think this is a good time to remind everybody that this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. There are as many approaches to coaching as there are coaches on the planet. So just be mindful that the things that we're talking about are based on personal experiences. And okay, my internet's being funny again. Everything we're saying is based on personal experiences, and those experiences are, a sum of everything that happened before, right? So including the current situation of country, of network, of visibility, etc. So, someone said that they're not sure that it's actually difficult to raise prices. If that's what you've experienced, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that's true for everybody, and that doesn't mean that that's that's the the common thing that happens. So I think take everything we always say here with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, it's different for everybody. And also you have to do the work. So it's not like, because we say something's going to happen, it's going to happen that way. It won't. It'll only happen that way if you actually do it and apply these things. So yeah, that's one thing. But the other thing I wanted to also say, somebody else asked about websites. So we did actually a couple of different sessions about websites. So I don't want to go into too much detail. If you just go to our YouTube channel, coacharia.com, sorry, youtube.com/coacharia, you'll find a playlist of this webinar series, and you'll see some stuff around websites and building a brand and social media, etc. But the kind of long story short is, like, at least when I say website, I don't literally mean yourcoachingbusiness.com. I may mean that, but that's not the only thing. When I say website in the context of a solopreneur coach especially, I mean, where do people find you so that they can easily talk to you and understand what you do? So it's perfectly fine if your website is a company page on LinkedIn, even if it's your personal profile on LinkedIn. But if it's your personal profile on LinkedIn, make sure that it has clear how to get in touch with you. It specifies what you do, and that you're active on that profile, like Shyam was writing for 200 days in a row on LinkedIn. Because that then becomes the place where search engines find you. Tracy, you look confused for a second. And, that's how your clients will find you. Your clients aren't going to go to Google and then discern that, this is more legit than other, if they can find your offering and your name, etc. They're going to see something like LinkedIn, which is a trusted brand, and they might still check it out. They might still get that client. So don't fret if you don't have your own website. Just take advantage of the things that are out there that will let you be visible. Yeah. The website can come later, that's fine, but you've got to start somewhere.
I couldn't agree more, Magda. I couldn't agree more. Everyone's kind of platform to be seen it can be different. It's a website, it's LinkedIn, it's Instagram. I mean, whatever wherever your clientele are likely to be, and where you feel comfortable opening up and showing yourself and showing people what you can do, I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, website is important, but it's only one of the mediums. I'm sure there's so many more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep going with your awesome slides of your awesome journey to awesomeness?
Sure. Is it okay to pick up on a few questions as well on the chat? There's some really.
Oh yeah. I did. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So someone asked what I missed. I'm sorry. What do you think about the role of credentialing plays in getting clients?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'd like to connect it with, I think, a couple more comments earlier, because some people talked about, I think, rates with people directly as against corporate clients. I think corporate clients, corporate work, which I do, credentialing plays a very, very major part for sure. If you're working with, an organization for exec coaching or career coaching, credentialing plays a really, really important part. The more direct work that you do, people reach out to me on LinkedIn and so on, whatever forum you're on, for me, it's LinkedIn, and want to directly get coached by me, it's probably less so. But definitely for corporate work, it's definitely very, very important. One-to-one or group coaching. We've got a question from Dr. Tasneem. Sorry, I can't see your full name in the chat. In corporate, what works more, one-to-one or group coaching? I see both, really. I do see both. The only, from my, and I'd love to hear from others, from my from how I see it, one-to-one is either developmental or interventional, where developmental is really for growth, for leadership, with some psychometric assessments, like kind of helping them really become the leader they really can be. The interventional is more remedial, in saying, there's behavioral challenges, we need coaching to help you work through some of these challenges. So there's that as well.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So at Coacharia, we're big fans of systemic coaching, which is both. So I don't think it's an either or, first of all. And second of all, again, one size does not fit all. There are so many for all these questions. And I know that sucks, but with the credentialing question as well. Obviously, Coacharia supports credentialing. Literally, that's our product, right? Training towards credentialing. But the reality is that clients are on different levels of awareness of credentialing's existence. They're on different levels of understanding what it is and why it's important, and of different levels of do they actually even care, right? So there are some clients that we get at Coacharia that come to us specifically and they say, we want a PCC minimum coach with minimum X years of experience, having held a CMO role in the past or whatever. Like, some clients get very specific. And then we have others who go, I have 20 people who need a coach tomorrow, just send me whoever. And they come to us because we have a brand that in the market signals people who come from Coacharia are quality coaches. So it's honestly a mix of everything. But I encourage you, when you're thinking about, what is coaching, like, you need to be, I think, have some flexibility in that, because it really is about the client, right? And what is the goal? And a different mix is going to work for different clients, including corporates.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question on marketing promotion that ties in really well to one of my failed experiments, and I'd love to share my failure, if that's okay, next, Magda.
Yeah, let's do it. I love failures. That's the best.
So Rajiv Padmanabhan, thank you for your question on, does getting coaching clients through marketing and promotion and converts inquiries into clients. So marketing and promotion, I have a failed experiment to share with you. And this is my $1,000 failed experiment. It cost me about $1,000 to do this experiment, and it completely and utterly failed, which means that I got no revenue out of it. Now, what did I do? I went through LinkedIn marketing, extremely expensive. Pushing out LinkedIn ads is super, super expensive compared to all the other platforms. But I did it. I wanted to know how it went. So I kind of allocated budget for it. And I said, I'm going to do it and see what happens. And I did do this relatively early. I don't think this snapshot has a date on it. But anyway, so when I did it, it was a push ad. So this kind of literally goes out randomly to people of a certain demographic you've chosen in the LinkedIn ad system. Now, this failed very badly for me. And my learnings, and again, as Magda says, it's going to be different for everybody else. For me, it was that pushing out a free coaching product didn't work for me. So for me, it taught me that kind of pushing out I actually said, do a free discovery call with me. I pushed it. I pushed the free discovery call idea. It didn't work. And campaigns are hard and expensive, especially on LinkedIn. They're super, super, super costly. So be aware of that. Instead, I realized that what I was already doing was actually working quite well. So in order to gain more clients, instead of putting in money into more paid promotions, I actually kept writing. I kept writing consistently. And writing is free. LinkedIn platform is free unless you need a premium account, and it works. So the pull strategy has continued to work for me. Now, I'm not saying promotions do not work. I'm just saying that in my experiment of pushing my brand of coaching with what I am doing, it didn't really work for me.
Tracy, do you want to talk about things that didn't work for you?
I think we would need a whole other webinar for that. Yeah, I think I want to agree though with what you were saying. I think that people associate free with a gimmick, yeah. Right? Like when you see free, you think, oh, wait a minute, there's something I'm going to be expected to do. And there's an element of mistrust there right away. So I agree with what you're saying there. I haven't found that ads in general have worked. I haven't done them specifically for coaching, but I've done them for other areas that I've worked on marketing. And you need to have a really good idea of what you're targeting and how. And I just think for coaching in general, I think that running like a paid promotion on Instagram or on LinkedIn, as you tried, I don't know that I would say that I've found that to be a successful experience. So it's possible. I've definitely seen that there's Google ads for coaches. I just don't know how they work, but for me anyways, doing paid promotions on social hasn't worked.
I mean, I'll echo that as well for Coacharia, to be honest. It was a deliberate strategy that when I joined that we took, because I'm cheap when it comes to this stuff. I'm a cheap marketer. I believe in authenticity as a personal value as well as in marketing. So despite it being a conscious choice, it has worked. And I would say, gosh, I think it's around almost 90% of all business that comes to Coacharia is at some point can be attributed to organic search results, and subsequently to building brand and referrals. It's very, very little that comes from anything that can be called advertising, I would say. It's just, the world is crowded and expensive. And as much as we all want to think that if I'm going to pay for this ad and I'm so special that I'm going to figure out a way to break through, there's a dozen other people thinking the exact same thing at every single time. So not saying don't try it, because if you really are that clever, that's awesome. Tell me what you figured out. But I've heard this story from a lot of people around, the paid for services type services. It's not the most converting.
Yeah, I feel like ads work more for products, and then a product is something that someone's already searching for. Whereas when you advertise your services, then it almost starts bringing into question, okay, how authentic is it that what this person's telling me because they're advertising? So yeah, those are my feelings on it as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are ways of putting out free kind of digital assets and things like that. People put out ebooks and things. I haven't tried all that yet. Maybe I will one day. I'm not sure.
So Shyam, there's a lot of questions coming in, and I'm just thinking there's maybe some that we can answer and some that we'll address in the next webinar.
Sure.
But to address, how do you call yourself an aspiring coach, etc., we actually have some homework for you on that. So in this particular webinar series, we always have homework for you so that you can take actionable steps. So we will share that homework at the end, and we're going to actually flip it back to you as to, do you call yourself a coach? But Shyam, I think maybe go back to screen sharing, because you have some excellent slides that are great conversation points. I personally think it'd be really great to see some more of the examples of how you put yourself out there on LinkedIn, and those examples of messages that you had that converted and didn't convert. Because I think, that's an illustration of you're not spending money on advertising, but you're connecting to people, you're talking to people. And the reason they're talking to you is because you were so active on LinkedIn and consistent.
Correct. So I've just shared, of course, obfuscated names and pictures, but you'll get the feel for the actual messages. These started, so this is amazing, right? Jan 4th was my first ever post. And I literally wrote, this is my website, and this is what, Jan 4th, on the day I launched my website and wrote my first LinkedIn post, I got my first client. Now, I'm not claiming credit for this. It is probably pure luck, but I did get, and you can see the way once you put yourself out there, and if you put yourself out there with conviction and I think maybe clarity on what you're offering, it happened. So I'm looking for a coach who can help me in developing and achieving realistic, meaningful career goals. In this regards, kindly let me know your convenience this weekend for an initial connect. This was actually my very, very first client who came through LinkedIn. And then later in January, this is the way I receive messages. I receive all kinds of messages on LinkedIn. And by the way, I'm only talking about the direct coaching work that I do for people who reach out to me through LinkedIn or other forms of media. I mean, this is somebody has asked earlier, how do you put your value proposition? It literally is using words that my clients use, which is, I am stuck, I'm disappointed, I'm looking for guidance. How can you help me? Right? And I tend not to put, how can I help you in an email? I'd like to have a conversation. So I do move into a 30-minute discovery with them. Hey, there's more. I've read your messages. a lot of it, what happens by March, what had happened was people were reaching out to me after having read 50, 60, 70 messages. And that's when I realized that people do their research. And I don't know why I thought that was strange, but because I do my research before buying anything. But people do research and look into you, and the LinkedIn messages, your website, wherever they find you, they actually look you up, right? And learn more about you. So every single word you put out there as content on media is something that people do see. And then I started realizing, actually, I think towards March, that mid-career professionals, mid-30s and 40s was my kind of sweet spot. And I don't think I knew that beforehand. It was through experiments and actually testing things out. So I'm in my late 30s, currently looking for a career upgrade. Lately, I'm unsure about what to do about my career progression. And yeah, so let's talk. So this is how kind of usually conversations begin for me.
Yeah, I think somebody commented on your vulnerability and authenticity as playing to your strength, like as being important here. And I will totally agree with that, because that's worked for me personally, and it's worked for Coach Arya. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're all humans and we want to talk to another human. And looking for a coach, that's putting yourself in a vulnerable position already, right? Because you're either admitting that you want to achieve a goal and you need help getting there, or you admitting that there's some sort of thing that you think is deficient in you and you want to get help on overcoming that. I mean, whatever it is, you, the client, are taking that first step to say, you know what, I can't do this alone, or I think I'll do better if I'm not doing this alone. So if they're coming from, you know, put yourself in their shoes, like they're already coming to you in a very vulnerable position. And if you treat them with that same kind of, you know, unconditional positive regard, and like if you're vulnerable in return, people respond to that. And all of a sudden you become a human talking to a human, not a, you know, potential client talking to potential service provider.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, bottom line is, and that's exactly what happens when you put more of yourself out there. And over time, what happens is the discovery calls literally become a conversation between two human beings, because it's already done. The background,
Yeah.
you know, they've already looked you up. They know what you do, what you're up to, and how you can help them. And also, you can never really offer the result. I think somebody's asked in the chat, right? You can't, I mean, if someone comes and says, I'm struggling to get a job, I can't offer anyone the job, and I can't guarantee the job. I can prepare you for interviews. I can, you know, help you find your confidence and clarity and so on, but I cannot promise the outcome. So you can only promise a brilliant process. So as a coaching service, I like to talk more and more about the process, not the outcome, because there's no way I can guarantee it.
By the way, there's more questions specifically about Shyam. What I think I will do is after this webinar is over, I will grab all these questions. I will send them to Shyam and we'll have him answer them.
Absolutely.
And stick them on the wall.
Oh, yes.
For that?
Yeah. It wasn't too bad, but we did hear it.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, it's too bad for me, so I'm gonna move. Holy noise. So we will get those questions answered by Shyam, I promise. Oh my gosh, this is so loud. So Shyam, I would love for you to maybe don't ignore the questions, but just acknowledge that it's limited time and you have many other cool slides. And oh my God, the noise. Can you talk about some of your failures? Because I think we learn from failures a lot. And you had some really good examples of where things did not go great.
Yeah, so this was a slide I was talking to Magda about, where I realized that, well, before I do that, let me just kind of blank that out for a second, I think. Can I? Oops. Yeah, I'll just blank that out for a second because I want to tell you, actually, I'll white it out so it's brighter. When I started my career, everyone was a client because, I wanted more business and everyone was a client. I was trying quite hard. And I don't think I appreciated that not everybody should be a client. Because you need to find the match of what you offer, whether it actually serves the need and whether you are the person they need in the moment. So that took some work for me to recognize that not everybody is a good client, and nothing against the person. It's just that it's probably not going to work. For example, I am not in the best place to help people who are just coming out of school or finishing a degree. They have, very different issues, like how to choose the best university to go to. It's just not someplace. I mean, I know we talk about coaching as being able to help people, but this is very, very specific advice. In the second example, you will see that someone reached out to me and asked me to coach a child. Now, I should have probably asked a better question and tell me more information. I was coached into that later by someone, but I should have asked more questions. But I later found out that the person was asking me to coach someone who's 20 years old. And again, that is not a place I generally work in. The third one is basically, you've studied abroad. Should I go abroad and study, and should I take a loan, etc.? Financial advice? No, I don't offer financial advice. So I started becoming clearer and clearer about who my target audience was. And of course, I do get very, very direct messages like, can you give me some idea about how to start my career? Which, I try to respond kindly, but sometimes I just don't have the time. But yeah, so not everybody is a client. I realized that over time.
Yeah. And it's tough, to say no, especially when you're starting out, because you want to bring
so
everybody
hard.
in.
It is.
But
so
yeah, that's
hard.
why it's important to know, have that price point established and understand what kind of coach you want to be, or at least have some sort of rough idea, so that you can carve out that niche. And we'll talk about carving your niche in next month's webinar, I believe.
Yeah.
But oh my God, sorry.
No worries, no worries. I can maybe pick one or two more questions, Magda. Is that all right? Yeah. I see Sarel. I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name right. Was your LinkedIn profile your personal profile or under your coaching entity? My coaching entity is just the firm I've registered. And in LinkedIn coaching profiles, the company profiles, because I am a solo guy, I think I just use my LinkedIn. I was advised to use my own brand. So I just try to extend my own brand through my own name. So I don't use my coaching entity because it's not really a proper firm. It's just a company I bill under. Right. Kamaldeep has also asked, what's the process you follow broadly? What's the point which hooks the clients on? Kamaldeep, I think the process I follow is pretty much standard, discovery call, helping them understand what's on offer, what's the process, what's the possible outcomes that they can get. And as I said, I think the push is less and the pull is more. I try to pull more, and that is by committing to the process. I'm a big process person, process over outcome, because the outcome will come. I think it is about dedicating yourself to the process. So giving yourself 200, 300, 400 days to actually do something. And for me, what has worked is that putting myself out there, writing every day for 7-8 months now. So if you follow the process, the hook automatically happens because you see somebody talking about something for so long, talking about successes, talking about failures authentically. Then, the hook kind of appears, I think. Yeah. What's your experience with India geography? How is the response here? I think it's very active. I think there's a lot happening. I think there's a lot of people in my area of career coaching. A lot of people want help. I think there's a huge number of people who need help or want help. They don't really know what coaching is, and actually a large part of my work on writing, the impetus or ideas for writing comes about telling people what it is, not pushing them to take it, but helping them understand what coaching is and what it can do for you. So India geography, I think there's a lot of appetite. But again, I want to split the whole kind of direct work on LinkedIn and the corporate work. Corporate work, I think, is very, it's established. There's ways of going about it, partnering with people, paneling with organizations that do coaching. Of course, like Acharya. And the direct work is what I'm showing you really on LinkedIn. Happy to talk about the other ways elsewhere. But the direct work, I think, gets a lot of, you get a lot of noise. You get a lot of feedback. And that's where I get messages on LinkedIn and email and on my website, people putting in saying, can you help me? So I've also struggled to scale this, trying to understand who is the 1 out of the 10 or 15 people who speak about a need that you want to work with or you can work with. or you should work with from a sense of you are the right person for them. Yeah, happy to answer these questions and blog in the next session for sure. Niche questions, I think we'll do niche questions later, Magda. Yeah.
Yes, I believe we're covering those next week. So, but great that next month.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but great that you're putting them in here because it'll give us an idea of what to focus on. Shyam, is there anything else that you want to cover that we should be talking about in this session?
I thought I'll share my most recent client, which
awesome.
is literally, I don't know, a week, 10 days ago. This was July 28th. So very, very recent. And this is exactly how the conversation started. And we have finished the session. Hi, Shyam, I've been following you for quite some time. I gathered courage to admit myself today that I need professional help. Can we connect? I mean, I was blown away by the fact, and I did communicate to him that I was blown away by the fact that he actually put that in a message to a stranger. I think that says something. That says a lot. That is huge, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying is the power of putting yourself out there, because I feel like people actually connect with me on a personal level, even when I have never spoken to them. So what I did right for this is I wrote on LinkedIn every day straight for 200 days plus. I developed a clear niche so people understand that I am here to help them with career issues and challenges and growth. I gave a lot of tips. So I write every day. I don't do like free ebooks and things and push that, but I do write every day. And that is, I think, creating some interest, and people get ideas. People write and say, hey, that particular post that you wrote was very useful for me. I write about my own stories authentically. And showed more of me. I'm getting there with videos and photos, maybe a few more photos later. Maybe this webinar is going to help me get over more of my fears. Thank you. And of course, made it easy to find and reach me. Thank you, Tracy. Calendly, tools like Calendly and things like Hello Sign, and things that just make your life a little easier. Most of them are free to use initially, but just kind of make it easier. Make the whole, the whole webinar and tools. Great. And I might have picked that up from that webinar myself. Is it more articles or posts? Posts, Rashmi, on LinkedIn. Everyday posting, short posts. Articles, I have written some, but not that many. Posts is what comes in like daily feed every day. So this was my my kind of recent latest client, and I hope this has been helpful.
I thank you so much. This has all been so amazing. I would love to explore with you as well about contacts that you had. So people that you had experience with from other realms other than coaching. What was your experience in terms of reaching out to them or using them as resources?
For people who are not in the coaching space?
Yeah, so people that maybe you had other connections with prior to coaching. So whether it would be former clients or colleagues or associates. Right.
So I was in a corporate role for a long time before I went solo. So I did reach out and tell them what I was doing, and I think that's how I got my very first client. It was a friend of an ex-colleague who said, "Hey, Shyam's doing this now. Is this something interesting for you?" So I did have a little brochure that I sent out and got that. Are they involved today? Yeah, I mean, I know we started the series by saying that how to start a business from scratch, but we are not scratch ever. We are never scratch. We are the sum of all our experiences till date. So even though we are trying to start a coaching business from scratch, I think our personalities, our humanness, us being a person is not at all from scratch. So if we are able to message that out and say, I am trying to do this, and this is who I am, I think that really helped me. The business was from scratch. I wasn't, and of course, in hindsight, I've got this, I've got this clarity. But yeah, so people who know you, who want to help you, I did reach out and tell them what I was doing, not from a perspective of asking for favors, but keeping them informed. I'm a huge proponent of actually engaging in a network, creating a network of champions. You need a network of champions whose sole aim is to help you succeed out of the goodness of their hearts. So if that is something that we can do over time, then yeah, I love to receive help, and offering help is probably the best way to receive it.
I think that's such a beautiful thing that you just distinguished there. The business is from scratch and you aren't. So I think that if we can remember that as we're approaching marketing ourselves and approaching generating new business, and that is something that we're doing at all levels of our of our career, that can be a huge resource in terms of boosting our own confidence. And what you were talking about receiving help, it's also important to remember people love to give help as well. So the more that we tell people what it is that we're looking to do and let them know our plans, the more that they can be involved in helping promote us or helping talk about us or helping refer. So it is a wonderful opportunity for ourselves and also for others as well in terms of giving.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I did any kind of influence training or learned from people, it was all about make everyone part of your journey. So there's a lot of people who are part of my journey, my family, my friends, my ex-colleagues, my bunch of people, you all, who have encouraged and supported. So making people part of the journey, that really helps. So it's not just my success. It's even though I'm a solopreneur, it's everyone takes joy in my success, and that kind of spurs me even more. Absolutely.
So on that note, I will jump in since we are at the end of our first installment with Shyam. Thank you everyone for being here. Shyam, you're going to have to go back to your screen share again, actually, because we have homework.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to pull that up and then share again. Yes,
yeah.
I have found it.
So this webinar series in general is, a bit conversational. Sometimes we know things, sometimes we don't. A lot of times we don't is because I end up hosting and I'm not an expert in anything, but I know a lot of little stuff. But we try to have some action at the end of the webinar that all of you can take to have progress towards building your coaching business or starting your coaching business or starting your whatever small business, because a lot of the things that we talk about, yes, they're focused on coaches, but frankly, they make sense for a lot of small businesses. So Shyam, tell us about these questions that you want people to think about.
Right. I'll caveat this by saying that I did not have very clear answers when I started. In hindsight, I think these are great ones to begin with, and I have answers now, but I wasn't very sure when I began. So if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, that's perfectly normal. So first question, are you a coach? And the only acceptable answers are yes or no, right? Who do you help? Now that can be a bit weird, can be a bit, a bit all over the place, but that's fine. Can you kind of compose a clear, simple sentence about who it is that your target audience is? How do you help them? And that's where the whole, what is the outcome that they can expect from you, right? Not just the process, but the process outcome. The process you'll talk about, but then what is the likely outcome of working with you? What do you charge? The question. You got to figure that out. If you don't know the answer, right now, if you're trying to think about it, one tip, it'll be somewhere between 0 and you are totally crazy. It'll be somewhere in between. And you're totally crazy is going to be figured out only by testing the market. So you may not have an answer today, but it'll be somewhere in between 0 and you're totally nuts. How will your clients find you? And again, as Magda said, it could be website. You may not need a website initially, but the website is very, very good. That's your real kind of digital presence. But there's so many other things you could do to help people find you. But you have to be found, and someone's got to pay you. Otherwise, there's no business to be had.
Right. If you build it, they will come. Does not happen in real life. I think I say that more than anything else in these webinars ever. Exactly. If you build it, they have something to come to, but you're still gonna tell them that it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of research in sales today that says that marketing and positioning is actually the biggest reason, well, bad marketing and positioning or not well enough is why a lot of businesses fail, not because the product or service is good or bad.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking, this is really, really important.
Yeah. Cool. Shyam, this is awesome, as we knew it was going to be. And as I said to Neha when we planned this webinar, this is like, there's so much content that we can talk about. This is not one webinar for sure, because you have such a wealth of experience and practical successes and failures, which I think are so helpful to share for everybody. So,
Sure.
I mean, thank you. And thank you, Tracy,
Welcome.
for jumping in, especially seeing as my internet and jackhammering has been a challenge. But yeah, we'd love to see everybody here next month with Shyam, where we're going to focus on niches. But until then, please think about these questions. And even if you're already practicing and you have your own company, I invite you to answer these questions for yourself and see if they surprise you, and see if there's any actions that come out of it, of how you're presenting yourself or not presenting yourself on the interwebs / the world. So we can revisit that next time. But if you come up with any amazing insights and you want to share them, we are very happy to publish things on the Coacharia blog. So if you don't only want to do things on LinkedIn and you want a third party for content, guess what? We're very happy to publish that. So please send those things my way. I'm magda@coacharia.com. You can always find me there. I put my LinkedIn, so please connect. I know Tracy did, and Shyam will as well in a second. And we are here every single week. We just do something different every single week. So 9 p.m. India, because they never change their time zones, unlike the rest of our crazy world. So 9 p.m. India is when we are here every single Wednesday. And first Wednesday, we do stuff like this, where we focus on building the whole business side of being a coach. But on other weeks, we explore the future of coaching, where we try to challenge how you think about coaching and its role and how it's evolving. We do more foundational topics on the third week, which I think it's a meditation this week or this month. I don't know, I have to check. But we do more foundational topics and how they apply to coaching. And then we also do our mastery series, where we have MCC level coaches who have done all this hard work throughout their career, and they have successful brands or businesses around what they do, and they shared their successes and their paths, and they share their expertise. So that particular webinar is very much close to coaching competencies specifically, but all of these are free. So please tell your friends, and please come. And if you can't be here, we do record these babies, and they do end up on our podcast and our YouTube channel. So you can then share them with your friends. And that's my job at Coacharia, to make sure that you know that we exist. And all of the rest of you can do the hard work. You too, Charlie. You too. Thanks everyone for being here. Thank you, Shyam. You are a rock star.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Until next time.